Hello, and welcome to Reclaiming the Blade Sword Talk Show, Episode 1. Tonight we are diving deep into the legendary realm of the Blade, talking with some of the world's most renowned sword instructors, as well as discussing how fans around the world can help preserve sword history. I'm your host, Arwen Kester, director of MiddleEarthNews.com, and with me, none other, is the amazing Daniel McNichol, the executive director of Galatia Films. Welcome,
Hello.
Daniel.
Hi, how are you doing today, Arwen? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know who Galatia Films is, they are the production company behind the #1 iTunes documentary, Reclaiming the Blade, which featured Viggo Mortensen, Carl Urban, the late Swordmaster Bob Anderson, and the voice of John Rhys Davies. Talk about a lineup. That is absolutely crazy. The exciting thing about all of this is that Galatia Films has just announced their plans for their next sequel film, which will be Reclaiming the Blade, Sons of Fire! I can't do it as well as you, Daniel.
Yeah, you're too kind.
Yeah, Sons of Fire! Yeah. So anyways, Daniel, we definitely want to talk a little bit about Sons of Fire, about the projects that Galatia Films has right now, like the Kickstarter campaign and all things like that.
The next film coming up, yep.
Yeah, so can you talk a little bit about the Kickstarter campaign?
Sure. Yeah, the first film was a lot of fun. We did have a lot of the Hollywood elements to it, but primarily the focus and the drive of the story, where we kind of ended up after the journey, was really looking at a art form and a martial arts, I guess, academic and historical approach to sword fighting that had really inspired me personally. I come at it from the Hollywood side because I'm a screenwriter, and I was working on a screenplay at the time, and the story had a lot of sword fights in it, sword fight scenes, and I just went online to kind of find out more about it, and I was surprised to find a number of groups actually practicing historical martial arts. And there was obviously the Association for Renaissance Martial Arts that I met, and I just immediately understood that there was a phenomenal story here that went way beyond the Hollywood movies, and I think the movies kind of help tell the story of the sword, because the sword is not a practical weapon today. Perhaps one may argue that it still is a very practical weapon. But in any case, it's been kept alive through culture and books and movies and so forth. But I'm happy to say it's also kept alive as a real martial art that people are training with. So that was what really inspired me. That was the seeds of inspiration for the first film. So the next film, teaming up with the Middle Earth Network, we really we're reluctant to do another film because it's just it's a big undertaking. It takes a lot of people working continuously over the course of a year plus to make a film. So there's a lot of work involved with just traveling and getting the interviews. But getting partnership with some people that we felt we could make the film with was a big kind of boost for us. So what we want to do with the second film is explore further into the history of the martial arts. We want to look at the bladesmithing, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that today. Maybe some of the people here who are actual sword practitioners who can tell you a lot more than I can about actually wielding a blade and using it as a form of defense. Maybe they can tell us about what it's like to the difference between working with like a wooden waster for training as opposed to like a real replica sword. And I use that term because there's not really a better term. It's because some of these bladesmiths are replica. Sounds like maybe it implies that that something is just an imitation of something, but it's far from that, because these weapons are made as good as they were back then, or perhaps even arguably better. But it's real steel, as they say. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But that's pretty much what we're doing. Obviously, well, perhaps not obviously, we are we are doing a campaign right now for the sword and for the second film, and it's all on Kickstarter. So if people go to reclaimingtheblade.com, they can go directly over to the Kickstarter, or just Google Kickstarter Reclaiming the Blade, and you'll see what Arwen was talking about there with Sons of Fire. So we're trying to get the rest of the budget so we can complete the film and get it done. Got a number of Hollywood actors involved, and it should be fun to explore, you know, not only the philosophy and the culture of the blade, but also get into more of the martial arts.
That's right. And I mean, there's so many ways that people can contribute to the Kickstarter to help the film, you know, get off its feet. Even if you can't manage financially, you know, just sharing socially, you know, sending that link out helps in ways that we can't even. I mean, it's just it helps get the word out, which is really what we need.
Sure.
And if you do have, you know, the financial backing, you know, I know that there's so many different packages, and we work together on the packages. A whole team of enthusiasts worked on these packages and got them. Just they're pretty cool. And
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot of
even
great rewards.
yeah, there's a $1 one, and I know that, like, you know, if you contribute $45 and up, you get the single disc DVD of Reclaiming the Blade, and all kinds of other ones. I think there's one. Yay! There it is. You get points for having the DVD with you. That's really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
But
obviously
yeah,
they can pre-order the new film. You know, they can pre-order the new film. That's not a problem. Yeah, that works. Looks like we have a doppelganger with one of the. I think Andrew, you might have come in twice, but that's okay. Sort that out on your end. You can just usually close down one of your browsers and resolve that. But yeah, as Arwen was saying, you know, you can pick up the first film. You can pre-order the second one. So not only are you helping us make the film, but you're actually, you know, getting the film. So it's not just a straight-up donation. It's going to be helping us make the movie, and you'll actually be a part of that process. So great. All right. So Arwen, I'll turn it back over to you, and I guess we'll introduce everybody.
Yes, we have all kinds of guests here today, which is really exciting. They're some of, like, the top people out there in the sword world, as I'd like to call it. So yeah, first off, we have Andrew. Andrew.
Hi, from St. Louis. Hi, how are you?
And we've got Francisco.
Hi, nice to see you. Glad to be here.
The armor director of John Clemens, is that correct?
John's not with us tonight.
Right. No, I'm saying you're with him, right? Correct. I'm getting.
Yeah, I assist
earlier.
John when he needs him. Yeah.
Right. John Farthing.
Yes. Hello.
Who recently got Free Scholar in ARMA.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
John is actually our deputy director. So,
okay.
You get top brass here.
All right. I'm talking to the boss, man. I'm gonna. Mary Coleman from ARMA as well, a study group leader.
Hi, guys.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm the study group leader in Murray.
Welcome.
Murray, Kentucky.
And we've got Omar, which he's a co-founder of Elite Fencing Club in Mexico City. And
Hi, Arwen. Thank you.
and we actually did a recent Q&A with him, so that's very exciting. If you go to reclaimingtheblade.com, you can check out that Q&A, and it kind of delves a little bit deeper into, you know, Omar's background and his Elite Fencing Club. It's pretty cool. So welcome, guests.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we wanted to bring you all, you know, kind of get just, you know, a little bit, just talk swords, basically. I know Carolina is on the other side of the world, the social world, and she's hashtagging, I can't even say it, sword talk. She's all about that because, you know, it's pretty exciting. There's a lot of buzz right now with the second film, you know, in the works, and we thought it would be fun just to kind of bring a panel together and talk about your passions and you know, how you guys got involved in ARMA, you know, what really inspired you and everything. So I'm going to pick at random. Get ready. But Andrew, let's talk about you. How did you first get involved in the sword realm of the world?
Well, I was visiting my parents one weekend, and their neighbor happened to have a son who was into this stuff. He was an ARMA member, and he showed me some stuff. You know, I'd done martial arts before, but this stuff it was very straightforward, very practical right away. You know, none of the routines or kata that you see in Asian martial arts. It's just you know, right away, very practical, and that's what really impressed me at first, and that's what attracted me to it initially, and of course, you know, then I delved into the whole history of it and the background, and it's, you know, it's part of our heritage, and just there's so much to learn and to study. So, been with it for a while.
Awesome, awesome. How about you, Mary?
Well, coming in my freshman year of college, I took a fencing class, and the instructor told us about a fencing club. So I went to the fencing club and met an ARMA member there, and he told me a little bit about it and said, if you like this, then come out, meet us, and we're going to be practicing at this time. And I was like, okay. So I went, and I loved it, and I loved where they were coming from, that they were trying to accurately reproduce the historical martial arts, and I was just hooked from the moment that I went there, and I haven't left since.
That's awesome. That makes me want to join just hearing that. Cool. What about you, Francisco?
Well, when I first came to the United States, I really wanted to study some sort of swordsmanship, and the city where I was, Los Alamos, New Mexico, there was somebody offering a class there. It was a 8-week deal, and he was an ARMA member. And basically, I became fascinated by the subject itself because, as Andrew said, there is this very interesting cultural component, unlike any other Oriental stuff, which I had the chance to practice when I was in Chile, still in Chile. And that cultural component that appealed to a reasoning and immediate usefulness of what we were doing was basically what really caught me. And there were all these books that you could actually go read and learn. So basically, since my life has been reading books and applying what those books tell me, I was finally kind of like just fell right into my alley. And I basically haven't been able to let it go since then.
Awesome. How about you, Armor?
Well, I started with the Japanese swords, you know. I studied ninjutsu. Then, well, I went to Orlando, to Medieval Times, as you might know. There's a show there in Orlando. And I saw the shows and say, that's awesome, I want to do that. It's that kind of sword fighting. Then I started to research and starting to see that there's a lot of HEMA groups in the United States, almost none in Mexico. In Mexico are almost all reenactments. Almost everybody here in Mexico are reenactments. I'm not saying that all of them are reenactors. But I started that way and starting to find out that there are a lot of groups there in the US, in Europe. And, well, I went to my first international event in Houston, and then here I am.
Awesome. I saved the boss man for last. So, John, how about you?
It started for me out of the passion. I've always loved swords as long as I can remember from childhood. And I loved history. I've always loved history. And I started asking myself the question, how did knights really fight? How did they really train? And I dabbled in sport fencing and martial arts that I've always had a passion for. And but I never found the answers that I was looking for. And along the way, I discovered the ARMA. And they were a group who was charging themselves with discovering the answers to the very questions I was asking. It was kind of a match made in destiny, I suppose, and I never looked back. I discovered the arm. I said, this is what I've spent my entire life looking for, and it's what I'll spend the rest of my life doing as long as I'm able to.
Now, listening to you guys talk, I hear a lot of what the root of everything would be like grounded in the history. A lot of you guys talk about the history, and like that's just fascinating to you. And you know, why do you think that it's important to kind of study the history of the blade? What do you think is important about that? Anyone, you're welcome. Go for it.
We're I'm going to jump in here.
Go for it.
We are sort of, I look at it as caretakers of cultural heritage. Andrew and Francisco both mentioned that we're studying our heritage. We're not just studying the blade. We're studying our culture. We're studying our past. We're studying our ancestry. And, you know, while the blade is certainly a passion, it goes far deeper than that, and it resonates with us on a level that's uniquely our own, because this is our ancestry, this is our heritage. So it calls to us on more levels than just the fact that swords are so cool.
Yeah, one thing I noticed that it was interesting to me having everybody talk is I discovered just in that quick run through with that first question that everyone was interested in the sword before they had actually even found a group, or perhaps they were interested in the sword before they actually, I guess, defined more what they wanted to study. So I think that's an interesting point because you know, whatever each individual background is, and that's what's so great about it, is it brings a really awesome eclectic group of people together who just have a passion for the sword. And they all come together, but they all have that kind of desire that's somehow instilled in them, I guess. Again, as I say, before they actually get introduced to perhaps some of the more, you know, defining what it is that they want to practice. Even before that, there's just a general love of swords and an interest in taking up the blade. And a desire to like learn more about it. So I think that's really interesting. It's not like everybody is coming at it from the same perspective, but coming from different perspectives, and I really like that about it.
You know, it's interesting that you conceptualize it like that, because I mean, what you're saying is not even new. The Master Fury de Liberi, he wrote in 1410 already that he basically was attracted to the exercise of weapons and arms because of a natural inclination. So that makes you wonder. I mean, even though that was his natural environment, you know, surrounded by all this violence in that time, unlike what we have today. But one wonders if that is just a natural inclination of you know, people. And that's an interesting point what you're making right there.
Yeah, there's something about the weapon, the sword, that is different than most weapons. The fact that it involves the whole body at once and in working together with this blade. I know you guys are probably all familiar with Peter Johnson, the wonderful bladesmith from Sweden. You know,
oh yes.
One of the things we want to explore in the second film is there any anything to this geometry of the sword that perhaps, you know, sets it apart from a club or a you know, I don't know a lot of medieval weapon names, but you know, the ball and chain, and I don't know whatever else is out there. Obviously, it's very practically, it's a deadly weapon, no doubt about that. But is there something to the geometry? And I know Peter has been exploring that a little bit. It's certainly fascinating to think about the science behind the making of the swords. And just want to remind people that what kind of brought us together is the Reclaiming the Blade Kickstarter page. So we really want to, you know, give mention to that again. So if you like what you're hearing here and are interested in the sword, and pick up the first film by signing up on Kickstarter and helping us produce the second one, and you can actually pre-order that film. So. And I think these are kind of the seeds of what that film's going to be right here. I hope we get the opportunity to make it. It's a bit of a risk going out on Kickstarter, but if we get the opportunity to make it, I think this is sort of the first, seeds of what that film could be about. So, Arwen, send it back to you. And what questions can we talk about next?
Well, I want to kind of delve into a bit of the groups that each of you are into, just your local groups, and what you guys study there, what you train, what age groups you particularly go for. Want to bring in, I suppose, things like that. Just to kind of get an idea, especially for those who are beginners and want to, kind of step in to this, I don't know, realm, but trying to give them an idea of what they would be looking for. So, John, what would people be looking, if they're coming to, your side of town?
I think that there's a requisite physicality that's involved. You need to be able to perform, at a basic level of fitness. But beyond that, you can start, at 18 and go until one of our masters. We study the historical source literature that tells us that it really forms the nucleus of everything that we're doing. We're resurrecting, reviving a fighting art and a martial art that was lost. And one of our sources tells us, do not leave studying until you come to the ground, until you die. It says that you can learn even once you become old, and that it's better to take up the art when you're old than to be reproached for never having known it. So it's not just a young man's art. It's not just a male art, although it tends to be a male-dominated. It just attracts males more often, I think. There are a lot of females like Mary here, and they've been getting a lot of interest from females in my area recently. So really, young, old, male, female, anyone can do this as long as they have at least a minimal amount of fitness and can perform, basic gross motor movements.
Yeah, it's hard though. I think just it's impressive what you guys do. But just speaking to the academic side, maybe we could just go down the list again. Maybe start with Mary, since we were talking about girls, then head over to Andrew, and then back to Omar, and just talk about, maybe some of the academic side of it. Maybe because I know that's a big part of at least the Association for Renaissance Martial Arts, that there is an academic side as well as to the training. So, Mary, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I wasn't really put off by the fact that there weren't females that do this art very often. And part of the fact as to why I was not is, one, I'm stubborn, but two, even one of the oldest spec books, manuals that we have is the 133, which is the Tower spec book, is what we call it. And we also refer to this manual as the Valpurgis manual. The reason that we call it that is because there's a female in the manual. And we see not only females in the manuals, but we also see people, we'll see African Americans or Africans in the manuals. And just the diversity that you even see in the historical books that we have and that we read and train and study, the diversity in there kind of made it even more solid for me to stay. Because, they were doing it then, why can't we do it now? And we've got manuals with judicial duels in them as well, between a man and a female. And
Yes, those are very interesting. I've seen some of those illustrations from the that would be quite different from today's, I guess, legal proceedings for divorce, I suppose. But yeah, it was a different world. But we can all agree it was very much a different world back then. People had to stand up for their rights to defend themselves, regardless of what culture they were in or what level of society they were in. The blade was sort of kind of like the Colt 45, like the equalizer in a way. And we really forget how many people were illiterate back then too. So or how many people didn't have the opportunity to even study from the manuals, but maybe perhaps just picked up a few things from somebody. And had a passion to defend themselves or their family or to protect themselves, protect their country, and so it's quite fascinating. But swinging it back over to Andrew, what can you tell us about maybe the academic side?
Well, yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have an art without these manuals, without this academic side to our organization. I mean, it's all coming from these historical texts. These guys wrote it down and preserved it for hundreds of years, and we're recreating it directly from these things. Unadulterated, unwatered down, and it's pretty neat to see something just taken like a time capsule from history and brought to life again in the modern time here.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, am I not loud enough? Or
No, I can hear you fine. I was just going to ask you about the exercise element. Do you find it as a good part of? You look like you're a guy who's in pretty good shape. So, I mean, is that something that like you incorporate into your regular workout routine?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a great plyometric workout. It's great for building speed and coordination. Any martial art is going to have this physical component where you're leaping about, and trying to move quickly and powerfully. But when you have an art that's really centered around weapon arts, you have this extra weight in your hands, this extra lever that you have to move everywhere, and it adds so much to your your sense of where your body is and where your lever is.
Exactly.
And yeah. It's great for the mind and the body, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've proven obviously that exercise is really good for the mind, but I would argue training with the blade is probably kind of, you're almost getting like two things done at once, because as you say, you're not just running on a treadmill per se, where you're staring at a television, watching a cooking show as you run, but you're actually engaging your mind in the actual art of training with the blade, but actually working up a sweat at the same time, is one hell of a workout, I would say.
Definitely. George Silver in 1599, it reminded me of this quote here. The exercising of weapons puts away aches, griefs, and diseases. It increases strength and sharpens the wits. They said it back then, and we witness it again now.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, myself personally, I'm not really a great martial artist, and I'm not really a true practitioner in the sense that I mostly I don't have a lot of time, and I'm engaged in a lot of other film projects and stuff, and so I think that's where my talents are. But if I had more time, I would definitely train more, and I would love to have you guys train me, really get some expert teaching and advice. But yeah, whenever I feel like a disconnect or I'm not really can't figure something out, whatever is going on in my life, I pick up the sword and just train on my own a little bit, and it usually helps me get the answer I'm looking for. So Very good response. So, Francisco, what can you tell us about the kind of the academic side of things as well?
The academic side.
Yeah, do you find it fun to train with the sword, but at the same time, are you enjoying the history aspect of it?
Well, I will say that there is a double component to it. I mean, the physicality is something that is totally inherent, and you cannot pretend to practice a martial art or be a martial artist without actually doing something that is physical. And unlike my previous experiences on other martial arts, here we don't really have a handed down tradition, So, and we're all trying to discover how to do these things, and we have made quite a progress on that because exactly of that academic component, that necessary research that you have to go into these books, understand what is being communicated in them, and try to put it into movement again. These words and images that are still put them into actual actions again, and that in a sense, I once in a while like to use the term archaeology movement or something like that, and basically what we have today, this real understanding of martial arts of the Renaissance. We wouldn't have it without that research. That research is necessary, but that research on itself cannot stand alone either, as the physicality of it cannot do it. It's a circle. There is a communication between the two things. What you research, you have to test it. And is that test, that physical test, that tells you if your research, what you're doing in the books, actually is worth something. You cannot have one with the other and without the other, and certainly you cannot have each one separately. You have to do both if you want to practice and study martial arts. And even though we tend to think that the material we have is very little, it just absorbs your time, and you can go to it one and over again, and it's basically something that never ends. And in ARMA especially, I've been a member enough time to see that this is something that repeats in cycles. At a moment in time, we have a certain interpretation of how things we think are, and then we change the paradigm, and we improve. We make our understanding better through this cycle of researching and experimenting. So, I mean, you cannot definitely have one without the other.
That's very good. And I guess we'll let Omar chime in on this as well. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the academic side?
Well, first of all, I wanted to start with a quote from, I don't know if I'm wrong, but from Hanko Dobringer, that says that if this wasn't an art, the stronger will always win. And it doesn't happen all the time. So we're practicing martial art. So we need to study a lot of the historical sources of these, because the ancient masters taught us a lot of great life lessons, not only talking about swords, but some of them actually show us a lot of historical behavior and discipline. Mm-hmm. And we can apply those kind of lifestyles or those kind of discipline to our new way of apply this martial art to our new environment. We also train a lot of CrossFit, for example, to be your health with your health, because as Andrew said, we need to have a sword with a lot of pounds in your hand that has to be like a part of your body. So it has to feel like it's the same part of your body, and you have to swing it around. If it was just like your arm, like your leg, or something like that. So the historical aspect is very important because of the interpretation that we can give to some of the manuals that we already have. maybe in the actual life doing a twist in your wrist is not the same as if you have to make it in the old German in 1500, for example, because at that time you need to do a lot of things to defend yourself, and actually right now it's just like defending yourself from a partner, not from an enemy. So I think we need to study a lot of history to learn the lifestyle of that that era, and keep on training our bodies to be fit enough to hold a sword and to be able to have a lot of sparrings, a lot of classes, a lot of whatever you want.
I'm just waiting for the story to come out in the news someday when I get to read about somebody who actually, I think it would be great if it was particularly like a woman, you know, who defends herself with a sword. I just think that would be so awesome. I don't. It is a different time and a different age. I don't know what kind of you know, what would be the final, you know, how that would all work out, because obviously you know, the sword is very deadly, so it's not the type of, I guess that's what's so great about it as a weapon. It's very intimidating. Just seeing it, you know. I mean, I think you almost don't even have to get into a fight a lot of times with a sword. You just, you know, the fact that you have one, you know. And maybe
actually, Daniel, we have a problem here in Mexico with a master with katana.
Yeah.
That some guys is trying to steal him the car, the cell phone, the wallet.
Right.
And he take off his katana and cut the hand of the robber.
Wow.
The master is in jail, and he's going to spend a lot of years in jail.
Wow. Well, as I say, I think just the sheer fact of having a sword, I think, without even using it, would be intimidation enough. Maybe that's why the people in the 14th and 15th century carried the sword around, you know, as like it was an accoutrement, you know, a part of their dress. It was like, you know, I have arms, I'm willing to defend myself if need be, you know, which is always, I think, one of the better things that we get from even the Eastern martial arts is that it's the arts are there as a way to defend, but not really to be a bully, but just to let people know that, you know, I will defend myself if I have to, and that kind of mentality. So, you know, and the sword again is a statement of that, with an exclamation point on the end, and a real point on the end that says, you know, you might want to think twice before you take my purse, because, you know, I have my money in there, and, you know, I have a blade at my side, and, you know, you're going to have to take it with a fight. So, anyways, obviously a different
time today. Just to validate that, with history, George Herbert in 1640, he said, "One sword keeps another in his sheath." You know,
exactly.
You know, back then, yeah, it's a great deterrent, sure.
Absolutely.
Daniel,
You know,
I'm sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
Just if I may, I'd like to return real briefly to share something on the topic we were discussing about the marriage of the academic and the martial. I've kind of adopted a bit of a mantra that I've been using lately, and I think it's germane to this topic as well as kind of the idea of sons of fire. But that mantra is that training the body but not the mind is like forging the blade without honing the edge. And I think that's an important idea in keeping the approach of the balance in marriage between the academic and the martial that we're striving for here.
Yeah, great quotes all around. So back over to you, Arwen.
Oh, I was just all that talk, you know, about, you know, just the thought of of someone carrying a sword and kind of coming at you, and it made me think of Viggo Mortensen. And if you watch the extended edition of The Lord of the Rings, they talk about the story where Viggo, in full costume, decided he would just like run to the drugstore real quick to pick up something, and while he was walking there, you know, he's got his full garb, his sword, and he's practicing some of his moves for the next scene that he was going to film. And here's this poor store clerk seeing this guy come at the store, with this huge long sword coming, doing all these moves. And I mean, they were just like picking up the phone like, ah. And they ended up like, the cops came and everything, and he had to explain, no, really, I'm an actor, I promise, I'm an actor. And all that talk just made me think of that moment. Was, I can't imagine being that person and someone coming.
Yeah, it's a very formidable weapon.
It is.
Very iconic, and that's what we want to explore in the second film. We want to take a look at this in Sons of Fire, and the only way we can make the film is with your support. So if you're listening here and enjoying some of the conversation, head over to our Kickstarter page right now and go ahead and make a donation. There's lots of rewards you can get for donating, and you can help us continue the story of the sword.
Not only that, but we're also doing a video contest right now. Like right now, you can go to reclaimingtheblade.com. There'll be you can find the link, the video contest. It ends on the 26th, so you really need to get your videos in if you're going to.
I think everyone here has a camera, so I'm going to be looking forward to seeing your video. But it's about what the film Reclaiming the Blade did to inspire you. Or maybe just the sword in general, or whatever you want to share that has inspired you to get more into practicing. I've seen a few entries already that have come in, and there's some good ones. There's some really good ones. So
definitely.
It's fun. Yeah.
But it's it's the 24th. You've got 2 more days. The 26th it ends, and the winner will be announced on August 3rd, Reclaiming the Blade Day, which is another thing that I'd really like to bring up, Daniel, because that is a big, huge day that we've been planning. And really, basically, it's a tribute to Bob Anderson, which is just amazing.
And the sword in general too.
Yeah.
But definitely want to look at some of the past and present sword people. I was really glad in Reclaiming the Blade we were able to talk to Paul Champagne. I think some of you know him in the work that he did with his sword work. And then Hank Reinhardt, who was just a wonderful human being, wonderful gentleman. And unfortunately, these guys are no longer with us. So it was I hate to think about who's here now that could share something that may not be able to share again. And so it's a tribute, to all those people that worked on the film that are unfortunately no longer with us, and their legacy continues because we know they love the sword, and there's nothing more that they would want than to have people carry on their passion, because that's what they cared so much about. And I know Paul said that he would, Paul Champagne, this bladesmith who made the swords, said that he would, as long as he could pick up a hammer, he would keep, he would keep his love for the sword. And unfortunately, as I say again, it was, I wish he was still here to continue doing what he loved, but we were able to at least, document, his passion. And I think it's getting back to the contest. I love hearing people talk about how, this movement has kind of inspired them to take up the arms and study and train or make weapons, whatever it is that inspires them. So yeah, we are getting at the top of the hour, so we don't have a whole lot of time left. But Arwen, did you want to dive into another question, or I'm pretty good as far as time goes, but where are we on the itinerary there?
We're fine now. We wanted to talk about the contest, which we did. We've talked about Reclaiming the Blade Day. I'd love to go a little bit more and talk about just people's groups and our special guests, and basically give them a chance to talk about it and invite people that are in their area to come. So I don't know if there's any of you that want to invite fans and people that are interested to your local chapter or whatever. By all means, let us know, because we'd love to spread that word.
Yeah, visitors are always welcome for sure. We love to have new people to practice with, and our organization is growing all the time. We're gaining new people. It's great to meet all the different body types, and everybody's built differently. Everybody moves differently, so it's great to have that experience against different kinds of people, and spread the word about this art that hardly anybody knows about.
And Andrew, where are you again? So if just you don't have to
I'm
give
in St. Louis,
or anything.
and we meet on Sundays over at the park, and Carondelet Park, if anybody's around the area. So my email is also on the website. So
okay, and what's your website?
What website is that?
thearma.org. THEARMA.org. The Arma.
All right, and that's great. We'll definitely get people over to that site. Looks like George has just joined us. George, is your microphone muted? I believe it may be. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see an unmute for your microphone, because we can see you, but we can't hear you. Look to the top right of your Google chat there. There's usually a mute button.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we can hear you now, I think. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, George.
Okay.
Welcome, George.
Yeah, well, welcome. We've been discussing a number of things, but we were just offering up an opportunity for people to promote, their club or whatever websites they have. But just taking a step back for a minute. Some of the things we discussed were the history of the sword and how the academics really merge with the study of the sword. What can you tell us on that? And welcome, please tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Mm-hmm. I'm George Golovanov from St. Petersburg, Russia, and I'm really new at the ARMA, so about 1 year or maybe less, and yeah, I'm doing historical European martial arts, not very long, but about 5 years. Have experience in some other historical stuff, not so European, And
the sword goes back. You're interested in the sword goes back longer than a year. You've been interested in.
Oh yeah, it was from the childhood, from the very first Robin Hood movie.
Yes. Why am I not surprised? Because that was something if I learned anything from this roundtable panel that we've had, that is the fact that everyone, regardless of finding the right teacher or the right club or the right direction, they all had a love for the sword from the get-go. So from the very beginning. So that's interesting that you would say that. But again, I'm not surprised. So you've been studying for a little bit. How's that going?
I hope it's going fine. We have a small but strict group, about 4 people, including me, and yeah, we're doing great. We have 2 times per week our classes, and yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Are there other sword groups in St. Petersburg that practice?
Yeah, there are, and actually there are many, but not ARMA.
I see. Not so much looking at the historical side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good. Well, I would love to hear from, let's see here, spinning the wheel here. Francisco, anything you want to plug here or anything you want to add?
Well, since the time is up on us, I think the only thing that I would like to say is that I'm really looking forward to this new Reclaiming the Blade 2. You know, I really enjoyed the first one. I tell you, I was really glad it fell in my hands. When I heard about this, I gotta be honest, I didn't give 2 cents to it of worth, and I was quite surprised by the treatment, all the love that was poured into it, and all that labor that went into it. I think that I enjoy so much the fact that there were so extras. Where you show all a variety of spectrum of things that I knew they were there, but having the chance of seeing them basically made the experience so much richer. So basically, you put yourself a very high, to a very high standard.
Yeah.
I hope you can actually surpass it. I'm pretty confident that you will. I mean, I'm gonna hear that the first Reclaim the Blade was your learning curve onto this, and now you're really gonna master on the second one.
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to it. So again, I will ask for anybody that has been with us so far to echo on your pleas and help us get this project started. Because I mean, for our community in general, is a good thing to have videos, programs, and information about the subject much more readily available. That allows us to be more, this knowledge to be more widespread. We can get to more people, and we can get more people into this. So that is a great thing, and for that, basically, I just want to thank you. I think that it was a great idea, and having us tonight, it was a great idea too.
Well, thank you, and we hope to interview some of you on the film. You know, I think it's been nice to meet you guys, and just get your perspective of the sword. I mean, I love meeting new people that are interested in the sword, and I can already see some phenomenal interviews, especially since many of you are not too far actually from our headquarters here at Galatia. So. I'm always thinking of, a quick trip to get an interview. So, really appreciate that, Francisco. John, how about you?
I think, I kind of echo a little bit of what Francisco just said, but I think that the first Reclaiming the Blade film did a lot to raise public consciousness about the resurrection of martial arts of the sword in general, the sword in culture, the sword in film, and of course the efforts that the groups like ours are doing to resurrect and revive our lost martial heritage. I'm really excited to see the Middle Earth Network becoming involved with this project this time around. I was following their involvement with the recent Arctic Fire, and that whole thing, raising, you mentioned Peter Johnson earlier, and they really helped bring a whole new generation, a whole new audience, got exposure to Peter. And
John DiBartolo over at the network definitely deserves a shout out, because he that's kind of where we came together, was on our love for the swords.
So, I mean, again, I applaud you and your efforts, because you mentioned earlier you're coming at it from the perspective of a filmmaker. We're coming at it as a perspective of historians and martial artists, but we're meeting in the middle, and we're all doing our part to join together and raise consciousness about our history, our heritage. I think that's important. That's a wonderful thing. We thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. Mary, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, just thank you for working on this project and allowing us to be a part of it. And for everyone else out there who loves swords and loves swords since we saw that first thing, the first Robin Hood movie that I saw. There were multiple other movies that have actually drawn us into the subject, the historical approach of this subject. Don't be afraid to go out there and pick up a sword. Go find a group near you and pick up a sword. There's plenty of resources out there on the web, and the Reclaiming the Blade site can help you And then there's the ARMA website. Andrew mentioned earlier, the www.thearma.org, that has an extensive contact listing of study groups that are in certain areas. I've been the study group leader at Murray, Kentucky for the last 6 years, and I've had people come up to me and ask, I'm not a college group leader. We practice on the local college. They allowed us to use their facilities. I've had people come up to me and be like, I'm not a college student. Can I do this? I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
Have the love
Can everybody real quick mute their mics, because we're having some technical difficulties on Mary. Everybody just mute their microphones, because we've got the delay going on again real quick. Yeah, I can still hear the delay. Anybody? Okay, there we are. We're fixed up. Mary, just back up a little bit. We had some technical glitches there. It was really hard to hear you, and I don't want to miss what you were saying because I think it was important. So rewind a little bit, take 2, and go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I just want to encourage anyone that's ever been interested in the sword, no matter what your age or background, history, go pick up a sword. Go find a group to train with. You can find multiple contacts online. Like Andrew was saying, with our ARMA website, the www.thearma.org, you can find a contact list of study groups that are all over the world, not just in America, but all over the world.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
This interest of the sword that's brought all of us together will hopefully bring more people to the subject, to wanting to accurately represent the way that it was historically. And just the love that we all have for the sword proves that there are still people out there that care, and that makes me feel really good to know that there are people out there that are working on projects like what you all are working on with Reclaiming the Blade, and just it gives me hope for the future of this subject. So.
Well, that's great. That's great. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes, I think we should go over to Omar.
Well, yes, I want to add something. We are trying to do something with our own heritage. I don't know if you guys know that the Aztecs were some great warriors.
Oh, yeah.
And we are trying to develop a technique about the use of the macahuitl, that it's the sword of the Aztecs, and the chimali, that was the shield. Mm-hmm. So, as you can see here, we just dropped the E at HEMA because we are no longer European.
Sure.
We dropped the E, so we are trying to go with the HMA, and we are trying to pronounce it like HEMA because of our Mexican heritage. Also, I want to thank you, Daniel, because of this project. A few years ago, it was very hard to find a place to start with it. So I think Reclaiming the Blade, it's a great idea for some guys to make a difference between reenactors, shows, and HMA or HEMA. So thank you, Daniel, and thank you all of you guys from ARMA. And Arwen, thank you for everything, and see you soon, and see you, of course, at the Reclaiming the Blade Day.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that. Now, did everybody get an opportunity to plug their websites? I just want to leave it open. If anybody wanted to throw another website out there, it's wide open at the moment before we close it out.
We've mentioned thearma.org. Also, people are watching on Google right now. The ARMA is also on Google and Facebook, Association for Renaissance Martial Arts. We're on Twitter. So if you're interested, there's lots of valuable resources, not only our main website, but in social networking. You can find individual study groups in your area. A lot of them are also on Facebook. But pretty much everything, Pinterest, ARMA's on Pinterest. But you can pretty much find all about us at our main site at www.thearma.org.
Excellent. Anyone else? Let's see. Our contingent from Russia, George, did you want to plug a website or talk about your group or anything else you want to add to the subject of the blade?
Yes, we have a Russian language website for our small group, and we have it's thearmaspb.ru. So there are some general stuff and videos and articles, and everybody who want to join us is welcome, and we always looking for serious students, you know. And about the film, actually it is really great idea because we in Russia, in St. Petersburg, in Moscow, in big cities have really big interest and very a lot of enthusiasm in people to do martial art or martial art-like stuff, but we have not so much information about it.
Yeah.
You know, because of different languages, and not all of us can speak European languages, can learn from treatises, from faith books, and we have to translate it before. So it is another one step from the sources.
Yeah. Your site's in Russian?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, very good, very good. That's great. That's a good resource for people in Russia. You know, encourage people. What's the website again?
thearmaspb.ru.
Awesome. Very good. So, you know, it really is an international movement. It was great to have Omar join everyone with with ARMA as well, and tell us about you know, the really unique things that he's doing with martial arts and different weapons. You know, different cultural weapons from a really a very exotic time and people. So it's great to hear about all that, and I look forward to connecting with all of you guys. So that's pretty much me, done and dusted there, as they say in the UK. Arwen, throw it back over to you. Anything else we need to cover?
Just one thing, Omar's website, elitefencingclub.com, just in case you wanted to check that out, because they are doing some pretty cool stuff there.
Yeah.
Other than that...
It's in Spanish and in English, okay?
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, I love that. Because when I was doing the Q&A with you, I was researching all kinds of stuff, and I was like, yay! So that was great, because that helped me a lot, because, yeah, me and languages, I could barely get English, you know? So it's a thing. Anyways, yes.
Head over to our Kickstarter campaign, definitely, and help us out. Get a reward for donating. You know, you get something in return. You actually get the film that we're making, so it's a win-win for everyone. So that's all I have to say. I just want to thank everybody on the panel. For sure, we'll go off air here in a minute.
Yep, we are done with our time, and we appreciate everyone who tuned in. Thank you so much. Thanks for spreading the word. Or if you go to our Kickstarter, you can click to embed the link somewhere, or just to share the link, or to contribute financially. Anything you can do helps, even if it's the dollar donation. I mean, that is just it's a great thing to get, preserve sword history and to, like you said, capture it for generations to come. Definitely. Thanks so much to all our talented special guests for sharing your passions and your inspirations. We are truly grateful. And Daniel, thank you for taking time to chat with the sword fans. We really appreciate it. We know you're busy working on that Blade project, so thanks for taking that time. For more information on Galatia's film sequel, Reclaiming the Blade, Sons of Fire. I had to say it right. Sons of Fire. Visit reclaimingtheblade.com and be sure to follow them on Facebook, which is facebook.com/reclaimingtheblade, and Twitter, twitter.com/swordmovie. Don't forget to tune in next live Sword Talk broadcast, which would be this Saturday, July 27th at 1 p.m. EST. So mark your calendars there. Until next time, this is Arwen Kester, broadcasting live from my super secret top desk chair, wishing you all a very wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in. Bye!